Hi there, Chris here from T1DDad.com and T1DDad on Instagram and Facebook. I just wanted to shoot a quick video, just some quick tips and tricks on how I do insulin site and cartridge change for the Tandem T Slim pump. Just to give you some quick rundown on how I do it. This isn't meant to be medical advice in any way, but just want to show how I go through the process, and hopefully it will help you a little bit. So first off, we're going to go over the different things that we need to have in order to do this. Obviously, we need the T Slim X2 pump. This one has the protective case on the outside of it. We have insulin cartridge. This is what goes into the pump. We have a syringe. We have the needle that's used to withdraw insulin and put it into the cartridge. We have a 3 ml. This is the AutoSoft 90 infusion set. This is a soft cannula infusion set with an inserter. And then we have cartridge of insulin. So we're currently still using cartridges, not vials. We just find that it's easier. We're using one whole cartridge most of the time. To do the site change, we make it last a little bit more. So even if we don't use the full thing, we just find it easier with a child. You can use the vials instead of cartridges, but the nice thing about this is if we do have some issues with the pump, which we haven't had with the T Slim, what we have with previous pumps, we can put the cartridge right into her previous pen and give her an injection if we need to. So the first thing that we do is we start with the syringe and the needle. So I take the syringe out, so I'm not touching anything, I pull it out. Same thing with the needle. Pull to open, and I'm not touching anything with my fingers, I'm just putting it right in there so that the needle is on the syringe. One thing I find that I got a tip for early on in both pumping and even just in, I guess it was pumping, is to move the syringe up and down a couple times. There's lubrication built into the plunger, the black part of the syringe, and just doing quick, just a little bit of a turn and pull back and forth, just adds that lubrication to the inside of the syringe and just makes it so that there's less chance for air bubble leaks. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to pull off the protective cover on the needle. And I just put the protective cover in there so I'm ready for it when I need it. Take the vial, put the needle in the vial, and it sits in it like this with the vial at the top and the syringe at the bottom. We're going to draw it down. Don't go too far, otherwise you're going to get too many air bubbles in it. And slowly you'll see that the top of the vial will come down. And we're slowly filling the syringe. Until it's just about full. Now the thing with these needles, they are 3 milliliter needles, 3 milliliter vials. And so you're not going to be able to do too much more, but it actually, you can get almost all of it out, and by the time you get air bubbles out, you're good. So there are air bubbles at the top of here. Give it a little bit of flex to make sure that they all come up to the top, and push those air bubbles back. See if we can get to focus, sorry. Back into the vial, and then you can actually move the needle down just a little bit and just suck the rest out. Now, one thing that's important to note, sorry about that. It's beeping at me because it's empty. One of the things to note, you're going to want to fill this based on how much your regular dosage is in your 3 days for the recommended time period. So it really just depends on the person how much insulin you're going to be putting into the pump and into your syringe. So again, just getting the rest of the bubbles out. You can see them going up into the vial until we have no more bubbles in here. So that's not super important at this point, but we just need space in here for the next steps. Okay, so we're done with that. Next step is getting the insulin into the cartridge. So at the bottom of the cartridge is where it opens up. Take this out, and you're going to put the needle right into the white spot that's right there. It is sort of a rubbery, foamy type of thing. You're gonna put it in, it's not gonna go all the way in. So I'm gonna go part way in, that's okay. And then what I'm gonna be doing is I'm drawing it back to pull any extra air bubbles out of the cartridge. Usually I just pull up on it a little bit, let it sit, go back down, pull up again, and you can see little bits of air bubbles coming out of the cartridge. So inside this cartridge is a plastic bag, and that's what the insulin's gonna be going into, and there's just a little bit of air left in there. I take this out, turn it upside down again, give it some flicks to make sure there's no air bubbles in the bottom. I want all the air bubbles to the top, and I'm just gonna push up just gently enough to get all the air bubbles out until you see just clear liquid starting on there, and then we're good to go. We're gonna put it back into that white spot. Again, it usually doesn't go all the way in. Sometimes it does. It just depends on the angle. Either way is fine as long as it goes in. And then I'm going to slowly push the insulin into the cartridge. Now, one thing to note, this cartridge, it holds 3 mils as well. So this is, everything's going to be full this time. Like I said, it all depends on your doctor's recommendations and working with your healthcare team to make sure you get the right amount of insulin so you're not wasting insulin. I push down and I keep it pushed down and hold it, and then I take the needle out so that all of it stays in there, because that little white stopper will help keep the insulin in. Put the cover on your needle. And one quick trick I learned is that, so on the side of the pump, you can see the little slit right there. The pump does come with a special removal key, but like most people that I've seen online, that gets lost fairly easily. This part of the syringe is a great thing to use. You just put it in there, give it a twist, quick twist, or you can use a coin, and then it allows the pump cartridge, the old one, to just slide right out of there. So I'm just going to remove that. So that's the old one. So we have a pump without a cartridge, we have a cartridge with insulin, and then the last thing is the infusion set. So everyone might have a different infusion set. This is the AutoSoft 90. This one has a soft cannula, 6 millimeters cannula, and this one has an insertion device. So I'm not going to be able to show you actually inserting it on my daughter today, just because where she's getting it on her body today. But I'll show you everything else up until that point. So we're going to take off the outer packaging. We're going to take off the top. And again, every infusion set's a little bit different. They all work with the same cartridge, but they all attach the same way, but how they work is a little bit different. I have a friend who's using the True Steel one as well. So it will come with tubing, and it will come with a place with the cannula, but in this case this has a plastic cannula and there's a steel. So I take that and I take this, we put it in and we lock it tight. That's why it's a newer version. It's called the Lure Lock system. It locks pretty tight. You can unlock it if you twist hard. Again, this is something that once it's locked in place, you don't want to be unlocking that, because then it gets air bubbles into the system. We put the cartridge back into the slot. Just clicks in just like that, and then we go into the menu. So as soon as you turn on your pump, you'll need to unlock it first. So 1, 2, 3 to unlock, and everything's stopped because it's out of insulin and it knows that it's not there. So in this case, I'm going to go back to the main menu. You're going to click on options. Sometimes there'll be options and bolus there. We're going to go to load and change cartridge. It already knows that we have to change the cartridge because it's empty. You may have to be changing cartridges because you're out of time and you've run up to your 3-day limit for the infusion set. Just confirming that it's not attached to your body, and we hit OK. Again, just another check step just to make sure that you've removed and put a full cartridge into the system. We're going to hit the unlock button, and then we're going to hit the check mark. So what this is doing at this point is this is checking to see how much insulin is actually in there. And what I usually do is I keep it with the thing up, I just give it little flicks just in case there is any air bubbles left in there. I'm not giving it big flicks, but just little ones so that the air bubbles all rise to the top. So again, it's finished, the cartridge is changed. Now we need to fill the tubing. So we're going to say okay, we're going to hit start, and now it's going to fill the tubing. So one thing I do is I hold the infusion set up high. It's hard to do on camera because everything's so close. And I have the pump down low, and then I can actually watch it go up the tubing. It's going to be hard to see on camera. And as it gets close to this connection, I just give it just gentle taps just to make sure that any air bubbles that might be stuck in that space are all going to the top and all going out. This just all helps prevent any bubbles from being in the system and just helps be more stable numbers, not having air when it's thinking it's delivering insulin. So this just takes a little bit for it to get up. It uses about 12 to 15 units to fill this tubing, unfortunately, but that just is what it is. This is the shortest tubing that's available. Again, I just have the infusion set up as high as I can and the pump as low as I can, just to reduce any chances of bubbles in the line. We'll see here, as soon as you start seeing insulin come out of the tubing, just like that, we can hit the stop button. Go back to the pump, I've hit the stop button. It'll check to see again how much insulin's in the cartridge. And then once it's done, we just hit done. It's just confirming that you saw drops at the end of the tubing. And then we're done for this step. So I'm going to leave it here. The next steps that we will do is we will insert this into her body. So the way this works is I take off the back cover, I pull it up, and then I squeeze the sides, and it pushes it down into her skin. Oh, the other thing that we do is we remove the adhesive cover, and we remove this piece of blue tube cover, because those two things have to be removed for it to be inserted properly. Once it's inserted into her body, then we'll hit the fill cannula button. You'll make sure that you put the right amount based on how long the cannula is. So because this is a 6 ml cannula, it takes 0.3 units. And I'll do fill cannula, and then I'll finish that process, but I'm not going to film that on camera today. I hope this is helpful for you. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out and let me know. Have a great day, and we'll talk soon.